boys, how's it going? We're back at it again.
It is us once again.
Fellas.
It has arrived to us once again.
We're here. We're at our other round table. we got a couple of these now. Welcome.
Yeah, we do.
We're here. You weren't expecting us to stream again tonight this week, were you?
I don't think anyone was expecting.
No one was expecting it. It wasn't even in the schedule. We're back. It was a surprise.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, absolutely not. No one was expecting it.
Spanish Inquisition.
Hell no. But the Spanish Inquisition has arrived. Welcome to the Jaeger Roundtable, Episode 1, from Humble Beginnings. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, and your humble DM, TonyTheDudeTV. Welcome to the Jaeger the Jaeger Roundtable, the show where we talk about Dungeons and Dragons and the adventures of our heroes on Team Jaeger. I am your host and DM, like I said, TonyTheDudeTV, and I am joined today with my fellow players, Lilith, aka Glacia Shongsni, royalty of Menagerie, and Krish, aka Averia Quinn, the engineer and loyalist of the White Fang. Fellas, welcome to the round table today.
It's great to be here.
Loyalist.
Something like that.
Amazing to be here.
Best friends, or something. Gotta move my scroll, or it's gonna annoy me. Hold on. Gotta move it. It's dark in my soul. I got it. Has to be perfect. Here we go. There we go. Welcome. I wanted to go around, and this is our little after show that we are going to start doing nowadays, where we talk about previous sessions and the sessions to come. So I want to go around the round table today and ask you guys some questions about your characters. I'm gonna start with Lil. Lil,
what's up?
What inspired you to create Glacia Shongsni, royalty of Menagerie?
Oh wow! We're getting right into the heavy stuff, aren't we? So Glacia came to me at a very I'm gonna get really depressing here, but Glacia her thought process came to me at a very kind of upsetting time for me, but at the same time it was kind of just getting out of that setting. So my mom had passed away, and something that kind of brought me out of that funk was the world of RWBY. Me and my brother have stuff that we always do where we make characters for our worlds that we like. Tony and I had started watching RWBY, and he brought up the idea because we were doing a Star Wars campaign at the time. He's like, hey, why don't we kind of inspire our own campaign off of the RWBY Grimm campaign that they had done? And
I remember that. That was a good campaign.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was great. I jumped on the idea. I said, of course, and that birthed Glacia, probably my prized possession at this point. She definitely compensates for a lot of the things that, as far as the main thing that I don't have, which is a mother, but that's because I say that kind of bittersweet, because my mom was a superwoman. I will say that. My mom was fucking superwoman. But
Laura Danvers?
Dude, she would find every way to do something to get us what we wanted. So Glacia kind of fits into a me situation where she lost a parent. Just the only difference is she just gained a new one in that place. She is heavily inspired off of a lot of my favorite things from like anime and just like kind of fantasy in general. She's an archer. Archery is something I want to do. It's really fun to me. I love it. Glacia is a funness because my favorite character in the show is Blake Belladonna.
Hell yeah.
The lovely cat girl. Let's just say, Glacia is someone I hold very dear to me.
I like that.
I'll end off on that.
All right. I want to go to Avery and ask him the same. Oh, hang on. There we go. I want to go to Avery and ask him the same question. Oh, I think. Okay. What inspired you to make Avery?
What inspired me to make Avery? I guess I love. And I was always a kid who liked to pull things apart I guess. Like, I remember hearing the stories from my aunts and my mom where it's like, I ended up like finding a screwdriver and figuring out how to take off the like outlet covers of like outlets and sockets and light switches.
That's dangerous, but
That sounds like fun.
that sounds like fun.
Apparently, one summer my mom couldn't find any of the light switch covers.
Oh no, not the light switch covers.
Oh no,
Avery.
Avery.
Oh,
That's sort
Avery.
that's sort of where the idea of Avery came from. This like inquisitive, sort of technical, very tactile thinking person.
I see.
Like sort of that's where he spawned from, and then from there I sort of started pulling together like interesting like story threads. Like the White Fang is like a very like dark group, but Avery himself may not be that dark of a person. Maybe he is subtly using the White Fang. Maybe he believes that sometimes the ends do justify the means. And that's sort of where I started building upon this character, building upon this sort of like...
You also at the times like you love playing devil's advocate to me.
That is also very true.
You adore playing devil's advocate to me.
I mean, playing devil's advocate is a little fun sometimes.
Honestly, listen, it annoys me, but I do enjoy it. I will say, I love having someone that kind of is a vice versa complete devil's advocate to who I am. It does fit. It fits perfectly for the dynamic they have.
I love it.
But actually, you haven't been seeing a lot of devil's advocate this campaign.
Yeah, not with the new setup of it.
That I think is because of that sort of like acknowledgement that this is kind of a different world. This is kind of a different timeline, a different.
It's a good way to think about it, essentially. Yeah.
So I thought maybe instead of Avery, like in the original campaign, he was obsessive. That is, like, he was obsessive and compulsive. He was like, he had his heart set, he had his mind set. He always thought like, my life is shit. My world is terrible. Like, I had the worst end of the stick given. So why don't I get the right to try and change that? Nothing is permanent. So why should time be any more permanent than life?
It actually kind of brings me into my next question with you, because this is actually a later question, but since Avery has his sort of like, you know, he's obviously kind of playing kind of both sides of the turmoil in a way.
Yeah.
How does that affect the overall dynamic of the party? How does he feel about, you know, knowing he's sort of like lying to people's faces in a way, living a false kind of, you know what I mean?
It's sort of, I guess, borderline the sociopathic. He doesn't care. Like, the ends justify the means. He actively like understands, yes, I'm lying to these people, but he's also starting to connect with these people on a deeper level. Like,
I still remember in the original set of Artemis timeline when we first figured out that Avery was kind of playing for both hitting for both sides of like the White Fang and the Huntsmen and Huntresses. Our team did not take too kindly to it. Like our normal like Team Artemis team did not take too kindly to that at all. Especially Glacia, after everything she's gone through with the White Fang, when she figured out that her teammate for all these years had been basically feeding them information and sending them back, like the fact that she's here and she's finally being able to have her normal life again, and she was about to get dragged right back into it, and she did not have kind words for Avery at that point.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think I remember that, because I think that was one of the 3 different points where Glacia almost froze over Menagerie.
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
Which,
but,
go ahead.
Yeah, playing the two sides is very interesting, because you actively know, like, oh, okay, so you're the villain. You're supposed to play the villain, but at the same time, you're also playing the hero, right? You're supposed to pretend to be the hero. But I think in that sense, that's where the two Averys will differ. The Avery from the original timeline and this one is that the original Avery never really had a connection to humans. He thought that humans were beneath him. But in this timeline, he doesn't like hate humans. He hates those who try to step on the throats of Faunus. Those who
he hates those who actively look down on Faunus.
Yes, but he does he cares about humans. He cares about humanity. He cares about peace. The reason he's really in the White Fang is because he believed they were the first people to offer him a hand when he was a child. After everything that happened to him, he met Adam when he was imprisoned with the Schnee Dust Company. And that's where they sort of became friends. And
this is something I really like about the fact that we have multiple Faunus on our team. So it's you have two different views of the White Fang. You have Glacia's view, where her kind of everything that happened with her in the White Fang, and while she had good times with Blake and Elia, all the bad things that also came with having all the fun times she did with Blake and Elia is she had a lot that Adam had kind of put her through because of that. And seeing her side of kind of hearing her side of things, talking about it, but then hearing Avery's, it's kind of cool to see both sides of it.
I think so too.
And as much as I don't like Adam as a character himself, because but that's the point of him, is you weren't supposed to like him because he was a villain. My thing is, I love the characters where they're villains, and you hate them because they are villains, and they make you hate them, and they do their job well.
Cinder.
Yeah, Cinder, as cool as a character she is, she makes you hate her, and she does it so perfectly.
She makes you hate her, but in a way that it's you hate her, but you also want her to step on you.
Yeah, honestly, it's the funny part is you're not even wrong. At that point,
yeah,
she's got that energy of you can't tell if you want her to kind of be like your kind of basically your mother at this point.
In the sense of Cinder, she's still endeared in a way.
Yeah.
She still comes from tragic backstories. If we're talking about a character who you hate because you're supposed to hate them, and it's played in a way that you know that you hate them, I would go with either from RWBY, the dude. What's the super smart dude? I'm forgetting his name.
Professor Watts.
Yes, Professor Watts.
Yeah, Watts.
Well, he wasn't a professor. I don't know why I called him, because
he was a doctor.
Dr. Watts.
Yeah, but in the technically in our timeline, he was a professor in Atlas in the Atlas Adventures.
Oh, another good villain that does his job at making you hate him, and listen, I don't like this character by any means, but that's the good thing of his point is Tyrion.
Yeah.
Tyrion does his job perfectly because he has no motives. He has no actual villain motives other than just to help Salem. He is the definition of I'm gonna be a villain just because I can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes him such a good villain.
I think that makes sense.
Or do you think of Mine from Rising of the Shield Hero?
Yeah, she's another one who, as much as everyone hates her and as much as the fucked up shit she did, she was a good villain because she made you not like her. Yeah. That was her job, and she did it to the T. She made you not want to like her. She made herself hate.
But I still cannot get through the first season of
And I don't blame you. There is definitely a lot of people definitely can't. I don't blame people. But if I haven't watched season 2 yet, but
now what show is this?
Season 1 of Shield Hero. If
Shield
you get
Hero?
through season 1, if you get past the arc of him basically finally getting out of being accused of all the stuff that he got accused of with mine, it's such a good show. And dude,
once her name is changed a bit is when.
Yeah, I think that's when it comes back on topic. But another thing I really I kind of love about these, this is one of the things I'm looking forward to with kind of our campaign, and especially with we just recorded the Misfits reactions. is
Check it
finally
out,
getting my
TonyTheDudeTV / Misfitch.
But I'm finally getting to dabble my hands and my feet in what I kind of have been wanting to do for a while, and Chris has been going to school for it. I probably should go back to school for it, or at least take a class to it, is voice acting. Chris is really good at it, and I respect you for being in kind of in tune with what you want to do. I respect you a lot for that, Chris.
He's the
I
GOAT.
want to do it as well because I've been like, I look up to all these voice actors and all these voice actresses, like, and the one of them that I looked up to the most is actually, he passed away. He is now Fumi's original voice actor in Billy Kametz.
Oh.
He was so good, and he was actually in. He got a few lines in Volume 9 of RWBY as Roman Torchwick, because if you guys, a fun fact about I heard that was being said about Ice Queendom was Roman Torchwick, since his voice actor left RWBY in Volume 3. Like, I think that's when his voice actor left. Am I correct, Tony?
Who? Which
I
one?
think it was,
Oh yeah, so
Torchwick.
I
His
think
original
so.
voice actor.
Well, I want to. Yeah, if I'm mistaken, wasn't he also the same guy who did Crow, the original Crow?
No, because Crow's.
I know
Crow's
Crow
original
left
voice
too.
I think he got fired, didn't he?
He did.
Oh, that's right.
And then Roman's voice actor just left. He just didn't want to do it anymore. And Billy Kametz was supposed to take over that role of Roman Torchwick, but he couldn't because he unfortunately passed away. It hurts because he's such a good voice, dude. His voice,
my favorite line
resonates.
from V9 was when he said, "Reality's looking a little fuzzy, kid." Like,
it was so good.
It was so good. I'm pretty sure that happened with if that wasn't Billy. Oh my god.
I'm ashamed to say this. I haven't watched any of season 9 yet.
Oh, you gotta love it.
Listen, you were in for a trip. I will give you that. But
a reaction?
It's fine.
501st reaction?
To Volume 9?
We go watch it. And that means we gotta watch 1 through 8 first.
I mean, I'm assuming that this little mouse that I just...
Well, Stewart. Let's talk about Stewart. Let's talk about him.
I'm assuming that Stewart is... I know that, like, I remember seeing trailers where it's like RWBY has a small mouse on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, little.
Alright, so do you want to hear some lore with this little dude?
I would love to
out of character context lore. Well, he does. I will tell you that he does come from the Ever After. He essentially in his storyline, he doesn't exactly remember much of his life from the past, of which, from the Ever After. All that he really knows is almost images and pieces of different parts of his past self.
He has to like put together the bits and pieces that he knows and try to figure out what is going on.
Yeah, exactly.
What I find funny, he is like the poor mouse who is trying to find the pieces of himself.
Yeah,
is paired with a broken man, a shattered man,
and
a literal shattered
essentially
man.
His story kind of coming into this, while we will kind of start unraveling more of it as we continue through the campaign, but he essentially was able to walk through the doors to Remnant, as he essentially was brought here for a purpose, and
so he has the purpose to fill in Remnant.
He's essentially here to guide and or influence the.
Is he Avery's conscience?
Well, we did talk about the fact that he could hear. Well, essentially, while he's in different forms, he can talk to you through his mind, like through your mind, and you can hear him in your head almost. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One thing I'm planning on asking him, because like I had him turn into this cane that like is also a sword. My curiosity is, does he feel pain if I hit someone with the cane?
Guess we're gonna have to find out, right?
I think we'll figure that out.
I'm worried though, because I don't want to smack someone with the cane and he just goes, "Ow!"
Well, you never know. I guess we'll have to roll a d20 for that one to see what occurs.
Every nat 1, Stuart takes like 1d4 damage.
Yeah.
He only has 4 hit points.
Poor
No,
hit
he has
points.
1 hit point.
Well, then you're gonna have to make that hit point count, I guess.
Because basically what I did, because he said he was like a mouse
Yeah,
familiar.
he's a familiar, yeah.
So I made
Because
him
everyone's got a familiar
familiar
at this point, sort of. Jade
Yeah, I made
is
him
her
a
familiar.
Fox.
Jade is essentially
Mine is
her
my
own
fox.
familiar.
I just basically made him a familiar, and then since they don't have a mouse, I assumed a rat and a mouse are the same
Pretty much.
thing. So I gave him that with a property of being able to transform into anything.
I like it.
I'm about to say,
Sounds
Glacia
about
has
right.
her fox. Like, her fox is a familiar, but it's also kind of like, it's a comfort tool for her.
It's a therapy fox.
Yeah, and it's not like, and most of the time you'll realize that when her fox appears, she doesn't actually do it herself. It kind of just, it's her mind saying to basically bring the fox from her mind into reality for her.
Wait, but my question is, where did the fox come from? Because, like, knowing how the Shnee's glyphs work, she'd have to have killed it in order to have it. Did she just kill a random fox?
No, that's actually not what happened. While you are correct, where the Shnees have to kill something to get it to summon, I'll explain it to you guys while we're here. So, before Glacia had ran from the White Fang with her mother, she had been on a mission she got stuck in the Emerald Forest. Her and, like, Blake and Ilya were on a mission in Vale, near the Emerald Forest, and they had gotten split up too far. And, mind you, at this time, she's been fighting since she could walk, and since she could, like, swing a sword. So that's why she kind of uses her daggers, because she's kind of been in habit of using them for so long. So, she's been fighting since she could move. And at this point, she's still kind of really young at this point, and a Grim that she wasn't strong enough to handle had kind of took form, like, had found where she was in the Emerald Forest, and she had come near close to losing that fight when she found a little fox that kind of had took its attention away from her, and that when she had found the fox again, the fox was almost dead. So she figured her closest thing to being able to keep this fox around as her own kind of familiar, in a sense, because it was something that kind of saved her life when she couldn't do anything, is she decided to put the fox out of its own misery since it was going to die anyway, and now she has her own little fox that it's why it's kind of so, like, relaxed and stoic when it's with her, is because they're meant for each other. That fox coming by when it did was kind of her semblance and, like, kind of her aura saying, hey, this is destined to either be your familiar or your pet. It's one or the other.
I like it. How would you describe your sort of relationship with your familiar? Like,
so, as I was saying, the fox her familiar is like a fate-drawn familiar. As I've seen it, like, as I've kind of, one of my favorite things is how witches have their own familiars. Is witches make their own familiars with contracts through, at least from a lot of the ones I've seen in shows and, like, books and, like, kind of stuff like that, they'll use blood to connect their own familiar to them.
oh,
So what Glacia did is hers is technically connected to her through her aura, but the way it's connected to her aura is through her semblance.
interesting.
So she has like a witch and her familiar connection to it, but the bond, if that's why she's a lot like her fox. When it's not around, she's stronger because the fox is giving her strength back.
Oh,
But when
okay.
it's summoned, it's pulling away from her strength a little bit, because it's like a therapy. It's a therapy familiar at the same time.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's meant to be there because that's how a lot of witches also draw their strengths from their familiars.
Oh, okay. I see.
Witches draw their strength from, like, when they have a familiar, they can draw their strength from their familiar. So when the fox disappears and it kind of goes back to her, it's her gaining the aura back and, like, gaining her strength back from having her familiar out.
I like it. So, Avery, I have a question.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, just monitoring chat.
there you're good. So, talk to me a little bit about where Avery's kind of coming from the start of our campaign. Like, what he's kind of walking into when he's going on to this new mission, what he's kind of coming from in terms of, like, kind of like a little bit of sort of like a summary of, like, where he started from, essentially. If that makes any sense.
He has been with the White Fang for about 2.5, 3 years. So at this point, he's still like a small cog within the machine. He's known a little bit because he is very good with his hands. He's very good. He's very technical. He's an engineer.
He's kind of just starting to make a name for himself.
Yes. So this sort of assignment is more just like monitoring the school and sort of like trying to gain training that can then be trained, that can then be relayed to
as well as like information that they need to.
I kind of see Avery's mission here kind of like what if you remember how Raven and Crow explained it, what their point to going to Beacon was, it was they weren't going to become huntresses and huntsmen, they were learning how to kill them.
Ooh. So I can almost imagine Avery kind of having that sort of dynamic.
Well, Avery actually, at least this Avery, he doesn't believe in killing people just to kill people. He's actively learning from the huntsman huntresses to try and help with dealing with Grim themselves, and also just with becoming better fighters and making the White Fang stronger. Or at least that's what he believes. He personally doesn't want to kill people unless they deserve to die. But in that sense, in that description, it is morally
he's kind of in a morally gray area.
Yeah, people he believes deserve to die based on his own moral code. People like Jacques Schnie or Little Miss
Malachi.
Little Miss Malachi. I almost said Little Miss Mabel.
See, this is the thing. That's the thing with Avery. Avery kind of has this moral gray area where he wants to kill people, but he has to base it off of his moral compass, and not everyone has the same moral compass.
Right.
Yeah.
Having a different moral compass kind of is hard to judge what he might think what he's doing is right, but how is everyone else gonna view it?
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit how that's been sort of challenging for Avery, because I know at some point in episode 2, the girl with silver eyes, we encountered a bitch who was able to throw him into the mirror dimension as well as control terrain and was trying to fuck shit up with him, and you killed the bitch. Bitch never came out of the mirror dimension when you went back into it.
Yeah, that was Avery sort of letting loose a little bit, because at that point, he hasn't killed in a bit. Killing has become so ingrained within his life that it's almost like needing a cigarette.
Right.
But it's always hard to find those people who are worth killing.
Mm-hmm.
In a strange way, are people who deserve to die.
Interesting.
And so he saw these people who obviously alter themselves and make themselves more monstrous. And those who actively attack people for just the pure enjoyment. He saw these as the perfect targets. These are people who do not benefit society in any way and actively hinder it.
Interesting.
Plus, they were going after someone who he viewed as sort of the purest sense of innocence. which he didn't believe she deserved. So
you did what you had to do, essentially.
Yeah.
But the other two people who he accidentally killed were not purposeful.
That's where
Oh
I
yeah,
forgot.
the two people he killed with the sound grenade.
Yeah, we killed Harley, the Harley bitch, the girl with the blue hair. She literally physically exploded.
But
Dude, that
literally, like how I modeled that grenade, it was supposed to be like the police have this special sound cannon that they use that is supposed to disperse crowds. It's not
I even
illegal.
think that Captain Bendu or Lieutenant General Bendu that was at the police force that you were, saving that day, he recognized, like, hey, I got one of those too. Like,
I got one too.
Like, I didn't know it could do that. I'm sure. I don't know if I want to use these anymore.
That makes me think of like with the
Avery hasn't used it since.
Shit. Like, you gotta imagine Captain Bender's like, well, are we sure this is safe, sir? It's buckshot is fine. We're gonna throw it, and if it blows up and it kills somebody, it ain't my fault. It's a standard issue. Okay.
Talking about, speaking of like Avery kind of jumping in and having him kind of have his first kill in a while, that kind of draws in the question of, you guys have realized, I think if you pay close attention, whenever Avery has told Glacia that she killed someone, she doesn't remember it.
Well,
let's
also not forget that she technically did kill somebody in the same instance in front of everybody when she stabbed the guy on the ground and then
That's what I'm talking about.
But she has no memory of it.
No recollection of that.
And technically, Jade was empowering her. Like, she almost like allowed her to harness the lightning. So she was technically in that form. So she didn't even really know what was going on.
Glacia has no. So
the only one I think who would have saw that was
Avery.
Avery, yeah. Because Avery was the first one when she woke up. Avery was the first one to question her, like, "What the fuck was that?"
Because then she just kind of back in the frame, and she was like, "What happened?" And then she just there's ice snowing everywhere.
Avery not snapped you, but was like, you made a comment about him killing someone. Then he said, "You didn't tell, motherfucker."
He was like, "What the fuck?"
I think I said it as Glacia. Like, Glacia was like, what are you talking about? I haven't killed someone. Because she actually hasn't killed someone in years. And the first time she killed someone was on accident.
Oh.
Glacia's first time killing someone was in the White Fang. So, I kind of model her first kill after, if you played Last of Us 2, do you remember when Ellie and Dina got caught by the wolves right as they were getting to Seattle? Chris,
I never watched it.
Remember
so I
how she she kind of cut herself from vines and ran up and stabbed the dude that was choking Dina?
Yeah.
I kind of modeled Glacia's first kill after that. So her and Ilya and Blake had been sent on a mission to infiltrate a bandit camp that was they needed information from. And one of the bandits had caught her and Ilya, well, not her and Ilya, her and Blake. And Blake had already escaped, and they were kind of trying to question Glacia of, how'd you find us, where'd you come from? And the dude that was questioning her kind of didn't want to kill her because she had information, but the commander of the bandit tribe came up and was like, listen, I'm giving you orders, you're killing her now. And that's when Ilya kind of had swooped in and like, she saved her from being killed by the dude, but then the one dude kind of put her in like a chokehold and was intending on killing her because he just watched her kill someone. So Glacia had froze the binds on her wrist, shattered the binds, and grabbed her dagger and pulled the dude off of Ilya and kind of just slit his throat on immediately, just out of pure instinct. And that was the last time she's ever even killed someone, and she doesn't really remember it because she was blinded by like rage and anger and like fear because she was terrified that she was going to lose the one person she loved to something as trivial as her getting caught by a bandit tribe.
So she said something like,
yeah, she like grabbed her dagger and slit over his throat because he was killing Ilya, because he was going to kill Ilya. And ever since, she's never killed someone. The first time, she hasn't killed anyone. Like I said, she has no recollection of the dude that Koyuki killed. She has no recollection of it.
So she just straight up like, she's kind of, it's almost like it erased from her memory completely.
So the way it is the way I have it in her how her mindscape works is, I think I explained it when I was bringing back her sister Sinon in our original campaign.
In the future.
when yeah,
Technically.
when one of them two takes control, the other goes to sleep in the mindscape. So when Koyuki takes control, the body is now Koyuki's. She's no longer.
But can she see and hear everything that's going on? But she's like, it's like when you're passing the controller back and forth.
No,
okay.
Because when Koyuki takes control of the body, Glacia sleeps in the mindscape.
Okay, so she's kind of like in her mind, like read the book or something.
No, she's like in her mind asleep. Like herself is asleep in her mind.
But then she's probably like, but she's still got like dreams and stuff, right? Like she's still like working on some stuff in there.
Kind of. The thing is, her mindscape is a very tricky spot because it's changing
Isn't
so
that a
often.
snow globe on the inside?
Yeah, as of where we are now, like in the future, yes, it is.
That's cool.
But right now, it's kind of just, it was her and her family's original place on Menagerie when they were with the White Fang.
Okay. Interesting.
Which they now do not own anymore because they were moving around so much with the White Fang.
That actually brings me right to my other question with you, was like, I was going to ask you the same question I asked Chris. Tell me a little bit about where she's coming from at the start of the campaign, moving into, like, now she's becoming a huntress, and, like, what was her, like, last, you know, like, where
do I start? Like,
what was she kind of doing before that, you know, in preparation?
So, this would be, like, I would say, like, 6 or 7 months after she had, like, left the White Fang. Her and her mother had booked it out of the White Fang because her father had just been killed, and because the way she portrays it is because how Adam explained it to her is that her father had betrayed the White Fang and was therefore killed by Adam. So what happened was her and her mother basically said, she's like, I know my father wouldn't betray the White Fang if we're still here. So she still is under the impression that Adam just killed her father for no reason. So her and her mother had ran back to Menagerie to stay with Gira and Callie. But before they had went back to Menagerie, they needed to stop because the camp they were in was around Atlas, was around Mantle. So they were kind of stuck in Mantle for a few days, and that's where they met Winter. I said it in the vows for Regalia that they had ran into each other at, like, the perfect time. Like, they ran into each other quite literally perfect timing. So they were running from the White Fang and Mantle, and they had and then Atlas soldiers kind of had stopped the White Fang from chasing them. Mm-hmm. And Winter was the commanding officer of that group of guards and soldiers that stopped them.
Okay.
So she's kind of coming from that, and it's like, I would say a good couple months after, because I would say like a good 6 or 7 months after, and a good half of those she was training with Winter, because she was like, I want to be as strong as her one day. And Regalia had already kind of like, she found comfort in this girl because she saved her. She saved her and her daughter when they were in their time of need.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, she was like, I want to be like her when I grow up. So she
was
trained
like a
with
prodigy
Winter.
to her, almost.
Yeah.
I like
Winter
that.
kind of looked at Glacia and was like, I will train you because I think that you have potential. Because her semblance is a lot like the Shanice semblance. It's not identical, but it's not too far off. The songs have their own type of glyph.
Almost like, so wait, if we go into here really quick, we can almost call it, instead of Schnee glyphs, song glyphs.
Yeah.
That's pretty clever.
I kind of see it as like, this is something small that she also kind of has, is she can sing, not to her best of her ability, but kind of,
she's like,
her family's like original like icon is like a song note. It's like a song note.
Ooh.
They're like song notes. So
I like
instead
that.
of the glyph appearing with a snowflake in the middle of it, it appears with a song, like a song note in the middle.
So it's sort of like your own little emblem. Like that's how, because everyone, you know, all the RWBY characters have their own emblems, and you have.
Yeah, hers is like
a
song note.
Customization.
Yep.
You know what mine is? A lightning bolt. Oh, cool. What a gesture, am I right?
And now we're jumping into her finally. Like she was after she had trained with Winter, her and her mother had kind of ended back on Menagerie just to kind of wait until she got accepted into Haven, which she ended up doing, and she ended up kind of leaving the Menagerie to go to Haven, and now we're kind of getting into where we are now.
Well, so how has your character evolved since the start of, well, not since the start, but since the formation of Team Jaeger up until this point in the story? Probably, I would say almost a little bit before going into the wedding. How has she evolved since this point?
So she's definitely kind of getting pulled out of that shell like how she wanted to, because one of her big thing that she wanted to do when she came to school is she wanted to break out of her shell, her shyness, and like she wanted to kind of get pulled from that, and she's finally getting that with, at least as of right now, she's getting that with Jade, somewhat with Jackson, and I'll even say ever so slightly somewhat with Avery, because she has someone to banter with. She finally has someone to kind of banter with and like kind of fuck around and talk with each time.
I love that, and it's also great because I love being able to look up and just see we're all around the table as our characters as well as people. I think it's so cool. Like look at Avery's like, ah, yeah. And Jay's just like, ah. That's the wrong one.
I think that the best thing about kind of Glacia, like this Glacia, is she's kind of finally, if we take her and compare her to like our original timeline Glacia, she's gonna kind of be a lot more outgoing. Because while she still has the same trauma as our Glacia now, like our Glacia from our current timeline, she's definitely, she knows that she has people that she can talk to now. Glacia didn't have that, because she was like, in our original timeline, I see it as the first 3 years of them at the academy was Jade trying to break her out of her shell, and only
you saw remnants of that. You definitely saw remnants of that during the first couple of episodes, especially when they got onto the ship, where she kind of sped up to you guys, but you kind of like turned away and went to another corner.
She gave her the cold shoulder and walked away because she didn't know what. And
it was weird because it was almost like she almost like attached to you like pretty early on. Like she saw this, she was just very curious about you, and she was like, well, we're you know, she noticed that you were almost sort of like kind of you know, lone wolf in a sense, lone fox.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, no. 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 She was like, like, no. And she just kind of like, sort of how like a cat chooses their person. Like if you because I've had this with the cat at my house, like at my mom's house. She like when we first brought her in, we were like, well, who's she gonna pick? It was almost like, you know, she's either gonna like me, she's either gonna like my sister, or she's gonna like my mom. She's not gonna like Sasha, because Sasha would just kept coming up to her and sniffing her, or Dakota would just try and chase her around. But so it was almost like she saw Glacia and like that was the one. Like she was like, yes, this is my friend. This is my new friend.
Like,
I don't care.
in our original timeline, like in this, it's Jade and the team are breaking her out of her shell way quicker. Because the reason
sort of like
I
how
say
Koyuki is trying to break her out of her shell quicker, sort of.
Well, yeah, what Koyuki's goal is, I kind of explain that is, now, like I said, she's from the future. As of our current like characters where we are in the future, they got thrown into like, we took Underworld and kind of made it our own in the RWBY world. Yeah. And when they got thrown into Underworld within the RWBY world, Koyuki kind of got pushed out and pushed back in time on accident.
Right.
Because the underworld data that was kind of flows into in through the kind of the systems that they're using within our story is what kind of threw Koyuki back in time and pushed her out. So
yeah,
she
and it was
knows
also
how this
it was also the kind of the brink between the what if kind of bringing all of its changes kind of coinciding into this new timeline, essentially going into it. Underworld almost kicked her out of the driver's seat and sent her in that that coalition of events kind of threw her back into another version of herself, just younger in the past. Exactly.
She basically took control of the dormant Koyuki that was in the now the current, because Koyuki was dormant throughout her first couple of years because she really had no reason to be active. She was there. She could hear her, and if she needed her help, she would be there. But the dormant Koyuki kind of got thrown, kind of taken over by the future one. And this future Koyuki knows how strong Glacia can be when she harnesses her power. When her and Koyuki harness together and harness their power together, Glacia is on par with a god.
Yeah.
Which is because Koyuki is the god that she's a reincarnation of. I kind of use it as, for people who have played Fire Emblem Three Houses, Byleth and Sothis. Byleth is one of the big goals of with Sothis and Byleth is that the Byleth is meant to be the reincarnation of Sothis.
Wait, what?
Byleth. So the Crest of Flames has.
I think he just put it together.
The Crest of Flames has an attachment to Sothis, and there's a reason. There's something kind of. Chris, do you not remember the little girl that's in your head, Sothis?
Yeah.
She has a link to her crest, the crest of Byleth, Byleth's crest. That's basically what it is. The crest is so rare that it's mainly because it's linked to Sothis herself. The Crest of Flames is linked to Sothis.
I didn't know that.
And is that's the source of her power, or of her godhood?
Because Koyuki, while it's not a crest situation like Byleth, the Koyuki herself is Glacia's kind of inner conscience of the god that she's supposed to become.
Oh,
she
okay.
has Koyuki is, because that's exactly kind of what Sothis is. Sothis is inside Byleth's head talking to them at all times.
Yeah.
Byleth can hear Sothis at all times. Glacia can hear Koyuki whenever she's in control. Whenever Glacia's in control of her body, she can hear Koyuki perfectly fine.
No shit.
Koyuki can talk to her and speak to her if she wanted to.
So it's what's it? Well, I'm trying to. There was a flash term. They used the thing and they did that and they killed the frost and it was so cool. I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah. So
cerebral inhibitor. That's what it was. That's what they used.
Yeah. So a big part of that is this Koyuki realizes if Glacia harnesses her strength early on, at this point in her story, in the story, she can become even stronger than our future Glacia is. Because this future Glacia kind of, while her and Koyuki did have a bond together, they weren't in sync.
No. They
weren't perfectly in sync yet. Because once they become in sync and kind of finally start working as a unit in tandem, that's when Glacia, you'll start noticing the changes come throughout Glacia and her becoming a god herself.
Oh. That's
why, we talk about it all the time. I think me and Leo talk about it a bunch because Leo will call us, we're all gods, basically. Glacia still technically isn't a god yet.
She's pre-god.
She's a god. She's a goddess in training, in a sense. Because Koyuki,
she's Jesus.
She becomes a goddess. she becomes a goddess once her and Koyuki fully merge together.
Okay. So and that hasn't happened yet, even in current time, right? Interesting.
No. So once they fuse together and merge, that's when she can take
almost
full
the Firestorm
strength.
Matrix.
Kind
of. Yeah, almost because
once her and Glacia merge, that's when they can fully become one and she becomes a goddess herself.
If I'm not mistaken, there was I want to say it was almost like a version of Deathstorm from the DC universe where Firestorm, because the Firestorm is comprised of Martin Stein and the his other half, the guy who is the body of the person, the two minds in the head, and then in the comics when they become one, they become this ultimate storm dude. And there's different versions of him. Like there's Death Storm where it's like evil and it feeds off of like fear and death, and there's other versions of it that like, you know, where he's a hero, but you know, it's both of them fully linked together with mind and you know, the
like
you know,
body and mind,
yeah,
mind
because
and
Martin
soul.
Stein's the genius, and you know, the other guy was just a football player, I think. And then he had an accident and he got dark matter, and you know what happens when you got dark matter? Everything just goes haywire, right, right, Avery? Remember the last time you used some dark matter?
Oh God.
When did Avery last use dark matter?
I feel like we had an encounter with dark matter when we fought.
Oh no, it was when we fought the team champion from the future,
Yeah,
from the past.
team champion from the past.
Alright.
Oh yeah, that was when the Grim Princess almost nuked the entirety of Remnant.
Yeah.
That was when Grim Princess almost nuked the entirety of Remnant.
Because you know what happened? You know who that was? You know what she used as a nuke?
Yeah, because that was it.
Because his semblance is, if he
the more
gets,
angry he got.
if he goes full blown like ballistic rage, he will full on do a nuclear detonation that wouldn't.
Yeah, because I remember because she kind of
detonate
used
the entire fucking. All of Menagerie would be destroyed.
No, it wasn't even Menagerie yet.
Well, I'm just saying, if he was on Menagerie, like that's the scale of which it would probably blow up
Because I think what it
Menagerie.
was is she was like basically putting anger into his system.
Yeah.
Or giving him full blown ballisticness, and like I think it was Jade that stopped her.
Yes.
Because she pushed her back in time.
Because she's. Yeah, and she had to endure radiation just to speed around, and that was at that point in time too. She didn't have her memories. She was Blue Jade because when she lost all her memories, she went pretty much back to level 1, and it wasn't until she kissed Weiss for the very first time that her memories came back, and she knew exactly what she. Because at first she stopped Weiss in time, where she was like, "I don't even know how I'm doing this, but I need to know how fast I have to go to." You know, you said I can time travel, right? I can push her. You know, she's like kind of like Justice League Flash, where he's like, well, I've never really done anything. I just kind of push things and run away. So she's like, I can push her through a portal. You said I can do that, right? And then she didn't know what to do, but then she almost like, because like the heart never forgets, even like just in the RWBY verse in general, like. The heart never forgets. Like she knew at some point, she knew somehow, some way.
Your soul never forgets. Your soul is.
She knew that Weiss meant something to her in some sort of way, but she didn't know how. So, but then when she kissed her for the first time, she was like, "I remember everything." And then that was it.
It popped back into her
Weiss were a couple in the original timeline.
Yeah, they ended up getting together.
Glacia's
Lightning
the only one who
Rose.
started off with
Their ship name is Lightning Rose, Lightning Flower.
The only one who had like an initial like partnership in the beginning of the story was Glacia.
White Streak.
If you remember,
Chris, White Streak.
If you remember that.
I like that. I'm sorry.
Tony, if you remember that. I think when we started, the only one who had an actual relationship from the start
was Glacia. And
because
we also saw that in the last episode we met her probably for the first time since like the normal future timeline, where she probably didn't even meet her this early in the timeline yet.
Yeah, no, because she has no recollection of ever meeting her this early before.
Yeah.
And when we met her, she was fucking brainwashed.
Yeah, that too.
We met her in the original timeline.
And she was also a maiden.
I would like to state how much, for anyone watching, how much Tony likes to fuck with me.
Oh yeah.
Tony adores fucking with me, dude. Like, oh my god, this is probably the time you've most fucked with me ever. Is when we had just gotten back. I think it was from stopping the White Fang and stopping Elia from. Basically going and having a black hole destroy Remnant because of what was the dude's name?
So he was the assistant because the other guy we were fighting was Merlot, but this was the assistant, his boss name. He pretty much like he created a magnetar that would destroy and he essentially trapped Jade in a forever like lightning storm where she was forced to run in circles and generate energy. And it was creating this magnetar that would destroy the world itself.
I think what we said it was Ilya's like maiden power was meant to or like her aura and her maiden strength was supposed to be powering it after Jade started running. So what had happened was we had no choice. We had to either we had to fight Ilya, and if we had broke her aura, that's when Avery lost his arm. Because I still remember that he said it that Glacia inadvertently saved the entirety of Remnant at that point.
Yeah.
Because what had happened was when
she was, like I said, she was while all that was happening.
I think I exactly remember I remember like scene for scene. Avery had basically done like a cool flip over Ilya and like destroyed his arm along with breaking
using the cannon. Remember the heavy cannon? The super cannon?
And what had happened was like Glacia kind of had like dove on top of her and encased her in an ice shell.
Did you see that?
And it stopped her. If you remember, Tony, we said the only reason that the machine didn't work was because Glacia stopped Ilya's aura break from charging the reactor.
Yeah, she did.
Because she basically created an ice shell around her and Ilya that when her aura broke, it contained it.
Damn.
It contained her aura break.
Yeah, that's right. Because she pulled her in, because like she didn't want it to. You essentially didn't want the super laser to completely like
kill her.
Like, because
Avery was like.
Avery didn't care.
Yeah. Avery, at least that Avery didn't care.
She almost like superhero saved her own girlfriend from, killing her.
Yeah.
Because they were having a duel off. She was like, and remember when she flew in, when she had the eye, she said, "I told you shouldn't come back here, Glacia."
Yeah.
And she was fucking like, and you could almost see like the tears going down her eyes, even because she knew she couldn't control herself.
I think that was also at the point of that. She also that also happened in when we first got to Menagerie.
Oh,
like when we first.
And there was the other. You guys also completely forgot that when during this time, Avery was working on some sort of way to reverse the effect of the device. But when you got there, you realized that the assistant made a failsafe. He made a special device specifically for her that where. Essentially the light, because for everybody else the light was like a red almost. For her it was this purple, the color of her semblance, and essentially he found a way to manipulate her own semblance to keep the device from ever being tampered with, because it's using her own mindscape to essentially keep him in control. And Avery was like, well fuck, how do I
well shit, I got outsmarted.
Ain't no cheat code gonna fix that.
He's like, well shit, I got outsmarted.
I mean, maybe.
He did not get outsmarted. He didn't get outsmarted. If he had,
he didn't get
because you gotta think the Merlot used a lot of stole a lot of your concepts, and tried to and made them his own.
Merlot wouldn't
have been outplanned before he got out.
Which is actually another interesting thing about this timeline. I actually going into this. I was like, I don't know what Avery's connection to the White Fang is really. Because this isn't like in the original timeline. He's been working with them for like 10 years.
For a long time, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, he's like a new guy.
Before he was like the engineer, like the guy, like the dude.
He was like a top-ranking officer in the White Fang.
Like he was inferior. Everyone like. Fucking like the one guy, because like there are a lot of times that in the White Fang that they would almost challenge other members to see like, are they at the level of like, they're gonna do what they got it, like they're follow orders to the T.
But no one would ever challenge Avery, except
that one guy in the campaign when he tried to make you kill what was Gabe's character at the time, the little fucking gremlin guy. He challenged you. He was like, "Well, if you're such a great engineer, you'll kill him, right? You're the engineer."
And they turned out and popped him in the fucking head.
And then he turned and said, Everyone was like,
"No one questions me."
Like they were like.
Oh wait, what was Glacia? Do we remember Glacia's first on-screen kill? Did Glacia have a first on-screen kill?
Other than I want to say it wasn't. I don't think it was Adam.
No, because we fucked with that a lot.
Avery killed Adam.
No, I think because we changed it because I think it made a lot more like for us at the time we were talking about it, Tony. I think we changed it from because we never actually technically killed Adam.
Well,
We like pulled his soul. We like
remember
condemned his soul.
You condemned his soul, but I fractured his mind and kept a piece. That is something I actually never told you guys.
And then
I don't think we ever killed him.
Someone stabbed him. I feel like a sword went through him. Someone's sword went through him. Or unless it was like...
Didn't Avery and Glacia have like a Blake and Yang moment in Volume 6?
Yeah, where they both stabbed him.
Cause I think Avery stabbed him with his own sword in his stomach, and Glacia had a dagger through his back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that's what happened.
We had a little Blake and Yang sort of recreation because, what's it called? If you remember in the comic book some of us were there for this. There was we did a what if, I think it was season 2, where I used a little bit of comic strips to like illustrate some of what happened, and there was one where it was showing an alternate timeline where instead of when Glacia and Jade get to that cliff where Adam's at, and he's like on one knee like looking over the cliff, and he's like because he just like presumably killed Blake and Yang together, and they had fallen, he's looking down where they had essentially fallen. In that comic strip, instead of it being Adam that was there on his knees, like it was Yang, as presumably Adam and Blake were killed or something like that. Or I think there was even like his body was in the background while Yang was looking over the cliff.
I remember that.
It was crazy.
Yeah, but like what were we talking about before we brought that up? We're talking about first on-screen kills, like first in-campaign kills. I think she did have one before that though, because I feel like she did.
I feel like other than like Grimm, I can't exactly.
Yeah, no, I think Glacia was very much a non-killing person.
I feel like there was
Metallo.
Metallo, that's right, the android in season 2.
Metallo.
Right.
Metallo, the guy that could replicate semblances.
Metallo, because that was when we first saw Xenon come into play, and Xenon gave control back to Glacia.
Because at that point she had just built a sniper rifle.
Killed Metallo. Yeah.
Hecate Mark 1.
That was her first kill. That was definitely her first kill.
Oh yeah, by the way, I know we're talking about RWBY. I know saying Xenon's gonna sound real bizarre, but Xenon, we stole her from SAO. We stole her.
This Xenon is also
we kidnapped her.
She's basically based off of SAO's Xenon, but she has a few tweaks and stuff here and there. Yeah, she has like a few tweaks to her here and there.
Do you know what Xenon's normal last name is from SAO? Do you know what it is?
Asada. Well, her name is Shino Asada.
Shino Asada. So in this universe, she's Xenon's song.
But she also is still not like a blood sibling. She's an adopted sister.
Yeah.
If you ever get confused, just acknowledge that this is basically a giant fan fiction.
Yes.
Honestly, pretty much. Us and a couple of our other friends that we
it's a fairy tale.
We basically mashed took a bunch of anime and just mashed them all into one.
So you know how they shed they shed fairy tales and they spliced it into, and then they made RWBY. They said fairy tale, gay, and then they made RWBY. Well, we did anime and gay.
RWBY and gay.
And then put them together.
And I will say there might be a Honkai Easter egg coming.
Oh no!
Oh god!
Honkai Star Rail.
You and me already talked about
now let me ask you something. Did you pay for this idea?
Or
was this a free-to-play idea?
It was a free-to-play idea.
Oh, there you go. Free-to-play experience.
That was my free 5-star, motherfucker.
Well,
I may or may not have 2 characters that... I have 2 characters that I have, that you'll kind of see how them kind of impact Glacia a little bit. You don't see them at the wedding.
No.
But Genshin Impact them?
You no, it's actually this is also a Honkai thing.
Ah. You can tell
Honkai Guy
play
Rail.
Honkai here.
So there are two characters in Honkai that are like my two favorite characters because they're canonically lesbians together, and I fucking love it. And their names are Bronya and Seela. So the whole thing is Bronya's like the leader of Belobog, and Seela is like an underworld resident that just worked with Wildfire and worked with.
Well,
them.
she's the future. She's the future leader.
Oh fuck!
You motherfucker! Who's on the last mission?
Chris, I feel like you could have found where that was going if you were smart enough. You looked into it.
Oh,
You probably could
Diego
have found
Smoker, J Smoker, hello.
Diego Smoker, hello.
Welcome, Diego. Thank you
Welcome.
for.
Welcome.
Are you now? Let me ask you something, Diego. Hey, are you? Hey, it's Mr. Beast.
What?
He said, "Hey, it's Mr. Beast. You want $5,000? Please,
No, I'm good.
donate it to the stream right this second. I could use
Donate
a new.
$5,000.
I could use a new pair of
fucking dare
socks.
you.
I could use a pair of
I
socks.
fucking dare you. You fucking.
Just send me $2. I only need the 2 for tomato,
I only need 2 more tomato.
but I don't have enough for chicken nugget."
But yeah, no. So there's actually a reason I wanted to use Seela, mainly because part of her, I have her semblance kind of all figured out, and Seela's whole thing is she can like kind of uses butterflies to her own like do her attacks and all, and like her whole thing is butterflies.
Yeah, it's
and-
not like her whole thing just teleporting through butterflies.
Through butterflies, yeah. And her semblance kind of she can use butterflies and kind of go through each of them. The fuck?
The fuck?
Is that code? All right. So if I type this in the chat, will I get unlimited cheat codes? For,
Unlimited V-Bucks?
Your IP. Whoa, sure. Are you trying to? You want to come over? I got chips in the kitchen. I got chips and Doritos. Come on over. Come hang out with me. I'm lonely. Let's do it. Anyway, listen up. I'm gonna end it off with one last question for the night. I'm gonna start with Avery. What is your character's ultimate goal in the campaign? And the overarching campaign as of the current events in this storyline? Because the new timeline goal, essentially.
I think in the new timeline, I'd say, I guess in the new timeline it would be like true peace, I guess, between or true equality between faunus and human. Maybe searching for because he still is searching for he still has blind hope that maybe he can find a sister.
Okay.
And trying to figure out whether he belongs within the White Fang, because like he already like went before he started this before he went on to this mission, he already was having doubts, like it seems that they don't truly hold the same values that he does.
Yeah.
And that's why he's going on the mission, is to try and get his own command, so that he could do things the way he wants
and
to.
you can sort of change things within the Fang, essentially, in a little,
Yes.
in small
Like,
but large ways.
He's basically trying to create a night raid within the White Fang.
I see. I like that. So he's like he's almost like a White Fang Robin Hood sort of thing, you know?
He's
I like it.
and he may or may not try and persuade a few of his party members, or at least gauge their opinion on whether or not some people deserve death,
Well then.
and some people don't.
Okay.
All right. I see what you're digging up here.
Alright.
I see.
Well,
I'm very concerned about the IP thing. That was kind of weird.
I don't know.
yeah.
We'll have to deal with that one later. We'll figure it out.
I was
They aren't
almost
watching anymore.
I don't know.
They popped in, said it, and left.
yeah, which kind of concerns me.
Bunch of stranger. What a weirdo.
But anyway.
Well, it's only Tony's IP. We're fine.
It's fine. Will, same question.
What is Glacia's ultimate goal? I mean, she really, her main goal is kind of just, she wants to be a huntress. She's always wanted to, when she was with the White Fang, she always thought what she was doing would not only save the Faunus and help protect the Faunus, but just help protect the world in general. She noticed that being with the White Fang wouldn't do that, wouldn't do what she wanted to. Also, she kind of noticed the bits and pieces of the cracks that were kind of forming in it. I think her ultimate goal is to, one, become a huntress, and two, another goal of hers is to kind of not destroy the White Fang, but dismantle it and put it back together as something different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she did, when she was working with White Fang and she was doing like the stuff when right around like Gira, right after Gira left, like right before like Sienna and Adam kind of pushed this agenda into it that we have to be feared, not like peaceful. Right. Her whole thing is that she wants to dismantle the White Fang, pull it apart, and put it back together how it was with Gira.
Right. Okay.
And she thinks that if she can convince Sienna that Gira's way was right, that she can finally get that back together. Because she had a weird bond with Sienna that wasn't like a mother, because she obviously had regalia, but like wasn't like a family member. She had like, it was like, she was like her caretaker when she went on missions. Like, Sienna would keep an eye on her, and like her, Blake, and Elia when they went on missions, even though, like I said earlier, they were the best stealth ops that the White Fang had.
Yeah.
But her kind of whole thing is that she wants to be able to talk to Sienna and kind of bring Sienna back into reality for a minute, and kind of make her realize, hey, what you're doing isn't necessary. What you're doing with the White Fang isn't needed. You don't need to kill. You don't need to be feared. You need to be peaceful, and they'll be peaceful back.
That's true. Maybe she has something to learn after all. As for Jade, talk a little bit, because I haven't mentioned too much about Jade as of recently, but I will say that Jade's ultimate goal is that she doesn't know too much about the Speed Force as of this time. She's sort of kind of documenting her progress as of over the last couple of years, as she in this reality, in this timeline, she had to, she got her abilities in a bit different way, because in the original timeline she would have gotten her powers on Menagerie when she she was playing ball, and her ball flew into the cave, and she had to go in there and find it, and then she found something she wasn't exactly looking for, and there was sort of like a dark, grim presence that, those Grimm that can possess objects and like become them, essentially. Yeah, they're called Geist.
Geist.
They're Geist,
like
yeah.
Geist.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
She essentially found almost like this, almost like a lightning rod that was possessed by one of these like Geist. It's hard to kind of pronounce them, but that was the day she got her powers, was when she touched this lightning rod. She got struck by lightning, and it was coursing through her veins. And in this reality, we don't exactly, she hasn't revealed it yet, and it's gonna be kind of like she wants to talk. She'll eventually talk about it eventually, but what I will say regarding her powers is that she almost got like a more concentrated shot of lightning this time around when she was struck by lightning, where it's almost like this lightning bolt chose her in a way. And now that she realized that this ability wasn't just it wasn't just a natural ability, it was one of that she was essentially becoming, she realized that this power that she has now is that of her mother's as well, that her mother has at one point used the Speed Force, and her ultimate goal, going into this, is that she has been running for a long time, running towards something, the future, the past, present, and more specifically, running towards catching up with her mother one day, finally figuring out what happened and how she's going to, because like I said, she at this point, like in the original timeline, she actually spent a little bit of time with her, growing up. She actually has memories as a child, growing up with her and learning bedtime stories. Shut the fuck up. Through it. And
this is why you put your phone on mute when you stream.
I know. I'm sorry.
I have my phone on silent.
But she now it's sort of like she almost like she doesn't necessarily like remember her past memories because of this new timeline, but she gets them in flashes as learning to control the Speed Force. She, it takes a lot of energy in her own mindscape where she has to kind of maintain a very positive and very happy feeling in her heart, which is why she's always like kind of like she puts herself out there for everybody. Like she's always trying to be expressive to everybody because she's almost like the support, right? She's got that mentality of like she's got to keep everybody in this positive scape, or if everybody is in feeling negative, things could get very
she can switch really quickly.
Yeah, things could get a little nasty, and which is why she's working up to essentially learning more to control her speed and control her ability to remain within the positive side. And later in the future, like I said, in volume 2 of the normal campaign, she lower end, nearing the end of V1 going into V2, she begins to experiment with the negative Speed Force and being able to use it for good.
Menagerie arc.
Yeah,
I think that was like the Menagerie arc, because when she first had
Menagerie arc.
Because you gotta think
the tail end, right? Because that was, I still remember, because you had because Jade had basically came in, cracked the time crystal or time dust crystal, saved Regalia, stabbed Adam, threw him through a portal, and then left.
Yeah, because she sped off. Because, like I said, she only had control for a certain amount of time because she had one singular focus, which was, for one, her biggest focus was fucking Adam, and she figured out a way to almost, because she saw what was happening before it happened, she essentially channeled her energy into anger, and she channeled that singular anger not towards like everyone, because a negative Speed Force would have taken over and she would have went haywire, fucking taken over the universe if she wanted to. But she directed that anger towards one singular thing, Adam, because Adam, he did a bad thing, and she hurt someone that was close to her, and ain't happening. So she took it upon herself to essentially break time, because one of the biggest things in that volume was that she didn't that's why when Captain Bendu gave her the time crystal or the time dust crystal, she made sure she kept it far away from that timeline Avery, because she knew how desperate he was to find more time dust crystals, and he would go at any length to find some. And he was even learning something before we even got. I don't even think we got to that arc yet at all in the normal timeline, which was Avery learned from Reggie that there was a time dust tree that grew in a very rare end of the forest, but we never got there yet. But it's almost like they call it the tree of time. He did see it.
Avery did see it. He did see the tree when we were in the time. When we were in the fucking spirit realm.
That's right. He saw it, but it's almost like he couldn't reach it. Like it was like escaping him, and he was like, "No, I need it for what my plans." So yeah.
It kind of like talking about this kind of makes me think it's like it puts you in a perspective of like look at these characters and see how they're growing now compared to what they were.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting to see that Glacia's kind of finally taking kind of what she's more looking at what Icarus did. She's kind of following what Icarus did in our normal timeline, where she wants to go back to the White Fang, but them to be a peace force again, like they used to be.
And this was
that's what we did in our current timeline.
we crafted what would later become
like,
the golden paw.
Yeah, we made him the golden paw. Yeah,
which I think was a really cool name. Still do.
Yeah, which was really. She wants to basically take the White Fang, dismantle it, put it back together, and put the pieces back together into a Peace Force again.
Yeah. And
I'm kind of excited for that, because it shows that she still does have care for the White Fang. It's not like she hated the White Fang themselves, she hated how it was run.
Yeah.
After Gira left. She hated how it was run after Gira left. Because she still had a bunch of friends that she had in the White Fang, and it was just the way the White Fang was ran by, like, Adam and Sienna, it's just she didn't like it.
Right. I didn't. I think I'm pressing buttons. I've been pressing buttons.
It also kind of pushes me into seeing what, like, Yuki's kind of also end goal, like, ultimate goal of this is because while she does want this Glacia to be stronger, she has to keep in mind that she's not from this time period. If you put that in perspective, Koyuki's not from this time period.
She comes from a later point in time. Not only that, she also is like, she has to experience things in a different way now because not everything is happening the same way. Events are unraveling very differently for her.
Yeah, and she has to try to figure out.
She's almost like essentially, which is kind of cool about this whole story is that now with that aspect of Koyuki, is that now she almost is like a proper, because when she eventually gets back, to the present, she's almost like a proper guide to because as far as our future characters now, they have to sort of relearn and like eventually the timeline.
Tony?
What? I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why Lil.
My Wi-Fi just cut out for a minute.
Lil broke for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Which is really interesting about Koyuki is that at this point in the timeline, she's essentially, because essentially everyone has to, when they came back from What If, they sort of have to now catch up with their own history because their own timeline changed. But eventually, as the universe kind of sets in, their memories, their new memories will overtake, not really overtake, but sort of like almost collide with their old ones. And essentially Koyuki's going to be the proper guide to navigate those, those old broken memories and, determine the new ones from the old.
She's going to be able to help Glacia determine her new from old memories.
Yeah. And it's sort of, a proper catalyst to
and I actually think that's going to be what turns her into a goddess in general.
Yeah.
Her finally, like, kind of having Koyuki kind of push her and show her what's her original memories and what's her new memories is going to finally be like, wait a minute, she can show me what my memories were and where they're new and where they're old.
Yeah.
That's going to think people push was kind of finally is the final string that's cut in like her kind of humanity going from a human to a goddess.
So she's like,
that's what I think it's gonna end out that way.
All right. Well, what's it called? Lil, 1 second. I want to ask you one more thing that I had in here.
Okay.
Which one was it? Hang on 1 second. Oh, I wanted to end it off with two more kind of like almost like palate cleansers. What was your favorite? What has been the funniest moment for you
of the new campaign?
Yeah, or in general.
It had to have been Avery rolling a nat 1 and getting stuck in a fucking tree when we crashed the fucking ship. Avery rolling a fucking nat 1 and getting stuck in the fucking tree. That was the funniest shit.
I was cracking up because he was like, ah!
That was probably one of the funniest. I think.
Oh my god.
And in terms of other ones, I think definitely us fucking with Team Gold at the beginning of the last session.
Yeah.
Us just purely fucking with them was the most fun I think we've had as a team.
God.
It was fucking hilarious.
Avery, what about you?
Yeah.
Or Chris, what about you? I called you Avery. I'm
well,
I'm in
We might as well
character
call
now.
us a character, just-
What?
What was your what was your favorite funny moment that happened in the campaign? It could be present time or future, or present as in prequel,
Favorite in the current time?
or in the
that-
future.
Definitely like running into fucking with Team Gold it was so good. So fun.
Because you gotta think that was like a Scooby-Doo moment where he was riding the rail all the way down the staircase, the spiral staircase.
I think that was a lot of our favorite moments because Tony unintentionally, like, you made like Team Gold like hate us in a sense in like our original playthrough.
Yeah.
And I think it was
so
probably
now
intentional, but it wasn't also unintentional. But getting to fuck with them when they were just getting like made as a team, like how we were, probably was the most satisfaction I think we've all ever had.
Oh yeah.
Cause I'm sorry, having Glacia use a Beowulf arm, just pick the dude up, and then just drop him was the most fun they've had in a while.
I think the moment I thought was the funniest was when episode 2, when when Avery threw the robot at the guy with the claw and it landed on him. He goes, "Who just throws a robot at somebody?"
Oh, that was fucking great. Who just throws a robot at someone?
Avery does.
He
And
really
then-
does.
And then my other second favorite was like shortly after that, after the battle was said and done, was when everyone started to realize who these police officers were. When all you hear is, "I got it, sure. I had to put it on a flash drive." And he's like, God damn it, Buckshot." And everyone's like, "Wait, is that the 501st?"
Yeah, is it the 501st? Is it the Misfits?
It's like, how'd y'all get here?
How'd y'all get here? Y'all were recording your own thing. How'd you get here?
It's like, wait a minute. Is that
Wait a
them? How'd they get here?
It's them for. It's them for.
How'd they get here?
Wait a minute.
Y'all
How
supposed
we
to be in the
get
next
into-
movie.
Wait a minute. How did we get into a box canyon?
Exactly.
How did we get into a box canyon?
How did we get
How
out
did
of
we
the-
get into a box canyon?
Now we just have like 4 bases in the middle of a box canyon. Whoop de fucking do.
We just have a bunch of commandos in the middle of a box canyon. Would that really be ideal?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, having 4 bases in the middle of a box canyon is as stupid as sending a sniper on a ground mission.
Exactly!
Exactly.
As Tony said, this is why I don't go on these fucking ground missions!
It's like, Sniper versus Droideka. Droideka always wins.
Yes, a sniper is standing in front of a droideka on the ground.
Run!
What makes you think the sniper's gonna come out on top of that?
In the battle of Ghosts versus Robots, robots always win. And then text
Exactly,
would
'cause
text would
ghosts
appear
are
on the
dead.
screen, and the audio would cut out roughly. And they would shave one final line of dialogue to leave the audience with a perfect sense of excitement. Like what? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, fellas, thank you for joining me tonight on the
Of
podcast.
course.
This is great. Jaeger,
So we're probably gonna be doing this, I'm
beginnings.
assuming, every Wednesday, right?
probably every Wednesday.
So every
Yeah.
day after our session?
Yeah, it may end up being, because there'll be some Wednesdays where I might be tired. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no,
So if
that's
I'm
fine.
a
I gotcha.
little too sleepy, may take a break. But like I said, consistency is key, and we're keeping it up, and we're doing really good
The
at doing
round
that.
table and our streaming the session will definitely be in the same week.
Yeah.
Probably not. The round table may not be every day, the same day every week.
Yeah,
No.
but we'll try.
It'll probably be like
The most we'll
it could
try
be
and
like
do
a
is the
Friday
Misfits
or
Reacts,
something.
which I think
Yeah.
Misfits Reacts will be really fun too. So I think,
Yeah.
what's it called? Any final words, fellas? To leave off our audience with the ultimate
well-
sense of excitement.
I guess I can give myself more plugs. So, hi, I'm Lilith Frelly. I go by she, her. I am a trans woman. I play video games every now and then. I also
Sometimes,
watch a
not
lot
all
of
the
anime. I play
Almost
I
every
travel
day.
between multiplayer at this point.
Almost every day.
I play Honkai. I play Genshin. I'm on Twitter. I use Twitter. My Twitter is @pinkflashhane, or it's on my screen, pinkflash_hane. I post a bunch of anime related stuff. I'm an SAO fan. I'm a RWBY fan. You'll see a lot of that on my Twitter. there's that, and if you ever come across Ray Latano on streaming or like on video games on Xbox and like Overwatch or anything,
Xbox
most
Live?
likely me and no one else. Xbox. I have an Xbox Series X, so if you ever come across Ray Latano on video games, it's me.
That's
I
the
don't
one,
go
the one and
anywhere.
only.
I also I have my own Twitch. I don't really stream. I want to, but I don't have the equipment to exactly yet. Same thing, Ray Latano on Twitch.
All right, Krish, any plugs?
Um,
Preferably not butt plugs.
then no.
Oh, damn. Well,
I'm joking.
she came in. He was like, well, I always knew this was gonna happen.
I'm a voice actor, currently getting into the industry. Chris Leo, going to be starting a Instagram for my voiceover work soon.
Badass.
Badass.
Keep an eye out for that. I'll probably plug it later once I have it up and running.
All right. And I am your humble DM, TonyTheDudeTV, other known as Jade Rose the Speedster, and also Jackson Fox, my boy, right off to the left. Right up. Wait.
Right over that. Right over there.
Right. Yeah.
Right over there.
Right. Hold on. I got
Right
this.
over there.
Right.
Right above me.
Right over there.
Actually, it's like right
I'm pointing at
above
him.
me.
Right over
Right above
that way.
me.
That
It's
way.
like right above me.
Not him. Fuck that
Like,
guy.
look
Fuck
at
all
me
them.
and look right above
Right
me.
over
That's
there.
Jackson, right there.
There he is. And then over there is Jade, and that's Glacia, and
I'm
hold on,
Glacia.
this guy, right,
Up over there.
right.
Up over there.
That's Avery.
My picture's mirrored, so in order to point at
Yeah.
I know, mine
Over
is,
like that
we're
way.
all mirrored.
I hate it. It's so weird.
Everyone's mirrored. That's why, like, I would imagine that way is.
like
that
I
way.
think this way is Avery, but that's
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I
fuck-
I thought this
fuck.
way was. I would think like this way is Glacia.
So right over
but it's
there,
not.
right over there is Avery, and over there are my other friends, and that's Avery though. Over the.
off Avery.
I know.
Yeah, we'll be streaming and doing. We'll have content at least once a week for us, so you should see us here.
Hell yeah.
Same place, same time. Normally,
Shame
well,
that channel.
normally for sessions, I think we do a little bit longer for sessions. This is just kind of a little mini show for us.
Yeah. We kind of
but
said we wanted to have some fun, and then we did. You know, here we are.
Now we are.
Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. This is a lot of
Of
fun.
course.
Like I said, you know what? The consistency is key, and we've done that. We've accomplished that. Thank you guys for helping me. This was a lot of
12
fun.
more days, then we'll make it happen.
I know. Hey man, like I said, God, we did it.
Consistency is key.
Yay. Well, it's been real, fellas. Thank
It's
y'all,
been fun.
and we'll see you guys next week on the Artemis
On Tuesday.
on episode 5, Song of Sneeze
Song
Part
of
2.
Sneeze, Part
Tune
2.
in at 11 o'clock ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday nights. All right, later,
All right.
guys.
Later.
Another night, I can't sleep. Wishing I could skip to my dreams. 'Cause the same day stuck on repeat. I push away.